What is football without conflicts? What is football without the big stories? What is football without suspense? What is sports without my media prime? A special good evening to you and thank you so much for having kept the rendezvous. You're welcome to your #1 sports show. This is the reference point for local, national and international sports across Cameroon, Africa and the world over. And my name is Bishop Rene. Isah. Very happy to having kept you spellbound to the television and receiving you for another edition of Prime Sports on the People's Champion channel. And it's an honor to have you in today's edition of the program. We take a rapid zoom already in what makes sports today as far as the rubric, or better still, different rubrics of the program is concerned. Different sports topic we shall be looking at, zooming into and out of different issues making sports news across the national territory. First things first, we shall be taking you to the southwest region of the country, where it is, of course, a very, very new atmosphere out there as the club prepare for the Southwest Regional Mini Interpols. We take a big zoom into the 8 that have qualified already. But for Tico United, they all depend on the riots and, of course, the protest that is being levied by presence of Boya. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's edition of the program, we shall equally be taking a fast look at what is also happening at the national level. We understand that the national playoffs are already underway as Cameroon is looking forward to the 2021-22 champions of the National Elite One Championship in the country. And also in today's edition of the program, we take a look at the performances and why not great Indomitable Lionesses who get set to embark upon another quest for glory on the African scene as they shall be battling their way out there in Morocco in another edition of the Africa Women's Cup of Nations. Still in today's edition of the program, we shall be looking at what is making news at the helm of Faker Foot. It is spears that are blowing in from the national, international and even unseen angles as the presidency of Samuel Eto'o steps into a bleak moment of questions and doubts. Good evening to you all. For us to demystify and of course unblock, why not decode whatever we have for you. In today's edition of the program, we have sports analysts, consultants who have left from different parts of Cameroon and they're joining us in today's edition of the program, some by technology and others body and soul. First things first, a man who is very busy almost everywhere at the same time and nowhere. He is no one else but Coach. I call him Coach because he understands the polemics around football when it comes to the lovely game of the foot. Well, Enow Ako, a good evening to you. In bold and capital letters, in golden letters, we once more celebrate your presence in the program this evening. Thank you so much for accepting the invite. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Isah, Rene. Thank you so much. I want to thank the producer, Mr. Eli, for a job that he has been doing for this program. I would like to say good evening to His Royal Highness Chief Dr. Oben of Mamfe. Also, good evening to my very good friend who is the president of Asobex 94, Mr. Obenjum Lawrence. I think that we are yet to contribute in nation building to see how we can talk and motivate the people of the country as far as sports is concerned.
Well, motivation, inspiration, and why not encouragement absolutely is what we shall be doing in today's edition of the program. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, very insightful personality in terms of sports in Cameroon, and why not on the international scene. He is writer for My Soccer 24. He is a sports analyst and consultant, Jemea, who joins us body and soul all the way from the southwest region in very, very golden letters. Good evening to you, sir, and thank you very much for having kept the rendezvous. It's an honor to be with you in today's edition of the show. Welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Rene. Good evening to the sport fans. Good evening to Enow Ako, and good evening to the listeners and the viewers of the Southwest region, especially Boya and the staffs of the Regional Hospital Boya, especially the UPEC Center.
Why not say good evening as well to the director of the Southwest Regional Hospital, Dr. Martin Mokake, who also is following us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, our last panelist joins us via technology. He is joining us via Skype this evening. Publisher for My Soccer 24. He is Lawrence Nkede. He joins us from Cameroon's political capital city of Yaoundé. And we shall be with him exactly in some few minutes in today's edition of the program. All right, now time for us to rapidly unveil a basket of talking points for you as we take a rapid look at what is obtaining in the Southwest region, mindful of the fact that we already have the Southwest Regional Bureau of Food that has been today involved in the draws of the second round of preliminaries for the Cameroon Cup. Well, but what is actually obtaining in the Southwest region, making lots of information, is the fact that we have the big eight already who have made their ways into the Southwest Regional mini Interpols. Lots of waves coming from the Southwest region, and for all that information and more, down left we have Jemea, who has all the polemics. First, Jemea, we understand the Southwest Regional Championship has been the most mediatized, most professional, and also one of the most acclimatized as far as football in Cameroon at the regional level is concerned. Let us begin by finding out your appreciation so far as far as football in Cameroon Southwest region is concerned. We have so many big names to talk about in terms of clubs and why not players. But first, where are we as far as football in that region is concerned?
Well, I think so far so good. We are going to see. I will say we give the Southwest region, the New Dawn administration, give them 70%, though they have some lapses again, which I think should be addressed quickly. But in terms of the football games that we organize in the Southwest region, we see some consistency in the organization of games. The recess period of the second round was not as long as it has been in the previous season. That's a pass mark. You understand that clubs were actually, they use the pitches, the modern pitches, which we have been crying for, though we had to use the University of Boya pitch, Tico Town Green Stadium, but at least we can boast that the Moliko Sport Stadium was used, the Limbe Cincinnati Stadium was used, the Middle Farm Stadium was used, as well as Nkede Annex. And now I'm talking about the ultramodern pitches. Unlike last year, yes, we were preparing for the Wafcon, reasons why we never used the ultramodern pitches. We only waited for the regional mini interpols to actually get the taste of those modern pitches. But however, like I said, the consistency of the matches were actually second to none. We've never had a season as competitive as this one from some years now. I think we should be talking about having a competitive league in the region when we saw the likes of Opopo, Elexpo, and the rest battling out for the supremacy of the Southwest region. Then it was known as the Southwest Second Division, but you find that in the 2010s that was somehow going down towards oblivion. But when you look at this season, you see that the clubs were actually determined to actually keep themselves ablaze as far as qualification, both at the level of the table toppers as well as the relegation battle. We saw how UB had to revive their clause to have some positive result, but though it was too late, we saw even the likes of Nsah defeating Continental at one point in time. At the match
Nsah defeating Continental on a very questionable note, given we have facts and we have reports that prior to that match, there had been attempted arrangements of match, programming and arrangements. We had persons at the level of these clubs who had testified to sources out there that some clubs were attempting to bribe others and give them, financial motivation in order for them to lose some of these matches. We shall, in subsequent editions of the program, or probably in this particular session, zoom into some of these issues evoked by some personalities in the Southwest region. Jemea, Southwest region has been very notoriously noted for match fixing. How correct are sources in the Southwest region?
No, we can't say for sure there have been match fixing. We've looked at the games. We can't really ascertain that match fixing has been existing in the Southwest region. But the clubs have actually proven that they can actually win games. especially those clubs that qualify for the mini interpols. You look at a team like Bestas Academy, Al Jazeera, Victoria United, Isah, Option Sports Academy, and the likes of Catholic University, Kumba City FC, and the likes of Kumbalekas. Those teams actually played good football, where you see some character and hunger in terms of the way they play the football, because they play with so much possession, so much determination and character. We saw the game pitting Al Jazeera against Bestas Academy on March the 12th or so, where it had to be Bestas getting that much awaited win from Tiku Cosmos. The lone goal from Tiku Cosmos, who had to score that particular goal for Bestas Academy. So you can't really detect that there is match fixing. Even the game Victoria United against.
But we have coaches, and we have testimonies from some of these coaches who reveal to us that some clubs attempted to give them money in order for them to lose matches. We have coaches who said these things.
Where we say that those are polemics, the only area where we found match fixing scandals was the game Option Sports against Victoria United, where it had to happen that there was a match fixing behind closed doors, where the two presidents had agreed that the game should be given to Option Sports Academy, but that didn't reach to the technical bench as well as the players, and so the players had to win that game where people won. And suddenly, the coach, the team manager were being interrogated at the gendarmerie. Whereas those were aspects of match fixing where it came up and
they were actually proofs.
The beans had to be
spilled.
Spilled. So that was the area where you find match fixing, and it almost led to the suspension. Whereas due to the elections which had to come in, and so those kind of things had to be put under the swept under the carpet. But as per this season, you can't really detect that there is an iota of match fixing. The clubs are qualified for the interpols. Now, the problem now is some clubs are trying to use the pretext
of match fixing,
others protesting against a particular side. For instance, Tico United. They didn't qualify.
We shall be coming to that.
But now, when you start zooming about the performance of the teams, you discover that most of the teams who qualified, if not all, actually qualified based on merit. Because if you look at Al Jazeera, that's a team that lost their first game against Nsah Sports Academy. They went on to grind momentum, and after the first round, they accumulated more points than any other team in Pool A. That tells you that it's a team that grew with confidence. But though they slipped off at one point in time to leave or to surrender their position to Bestas Academy at the end of the season, but they could still give an account of themselves. They played beautiful football as far as the season was concerned. You move to Pool B, you find out that it took Isah up to the last day against Victoria United to record their first defeat in the season. That can tell you that that's a team that cannot actually tell you that.
And it took Nsah almost the last day of the season as well to record their first victory. And so when we start looking at Nsah that seemingly came into the season as point dividers, one is tempted to think that something would have happened behind the scenes prior to the match. But we shall be coming to that. Yeah. Coach, let's have an assessment of football in the Southwest region. I mean, for the very first time, we've seen football played on different pitches in the Southwest region with beautiful talent as well, records broken, and all of that happening. And we've seen teams, 8 of them qualified for the mini interpols in the Southwest region. Can one look at all these records and say that, hopefully, elite football is about to return to the Southwest region?
Yes, my heart beats because we want elite football to be played in the Southwest region. Tico United, for example, which is one of the legendary clubs in the region, is still suffering as far as infrastructure is concerned, because they still have what we call, in quotes, potato farms.
In terms of pitches?
In terms of pitches, which is disgrace for this nation. I think that Tico United has been and will still remain one of the best as far as football fever is concerned in the region. So we keep saying that what was the need for Limbe to have 4 pitches?
Whereas Tico is struggling to
have
maintain one.
So we should be very rational each time a decision has to be made. because you have the Limbe Middle Farms, you have the Centenary Stadium, you have the Annex Stadium, and you have the Limbe Omispo Stadium. Yet, the town of Tiko, which is the hub of football, is still lagging in terms of infrastructure. I still find that one thing. Yet, we are talking about football coming back to Southwest. How do you expect football to come back to Southwest when the distribution of infrastructure is not equitable? Look at it. Boya has 2 pitches. You have the Moliko Mispo Stadium as well as the Boya Town Green Stadium.
As well as UB.
UB for it.
That's even 3.
Unfortunately, Kumba has nothing to show off. When we say football is coming back to Southwest, we are not saying that football is coming back to Limbe.
It's the Southwest.
How? What then is the density of those infrastructure? Everything is concentrated in Limbe. Consequently, I should be saying that football is coming back to Limbe and not Southwest. The administrators of this nation needs to understand that a town like Mamfe had in the years, you had Kama Kumba and Meme works for Kumba, whereas you had Manu FC in Mamfe. And I just returned from Mamfe yesterday. They have, the pitch is a shadow of itself. Yet, we have clubs in the regional league in Southwest from Mamfe.
Like Temster.
Of course. Unfortunately, we keep saying football is coming back to Southwest. It's Southwest has the administration of football, both Freakerfoot and the government. Do they pay attention to the entire region? So, that said, coming back to the pitch, I think that Southwest has always been, in terms of national football, has always produced, has been a reference point. Some years ago, we had Mount Cameroon Football Club of Boya, we had we have had Opopo, we had a team like Tiko United itself, and Southwest has been the breed of excellent football players. We have guys like Nsah Paul, who played for Astro of Douala, somebody like Atem Fondombeze Valentine.
All the way they came from the Southwest, and even in the current national team, we have the likes of Kunde Malong
from Bestas.
And many of them out there. And coach, we have indications that we've just been joined via Skype this evening by the publisher of My Soccer 24, Lawrence Nkede. Say if you're getting us this evening, a truly wondrous good evening to you, and thank you profoundly for accepting our invite. You're welcome to Prime Sports on My Media Prime Television. Sir, good evening to you.
Good evening to all the panel. It's always a pleasure to be on My Media Prime and talk sports.
Yes, absolutely, an honor to have you on board, sir, publisher for My Soccer 24. First, without any ado, we shall take you straight into what makes football in the Southwest region. We begin by finding out what would be your reaction to the fact that though we have 8 teams already qualified or clubs already qualified for the Southwest Regional Mini Interpols, we have reports of match fixing that would have happened and culminated to what we have out there. What would be your reaction to such allegations, if ever they be true?
Well, I don't think it's something new. We have been seeing that even in the top flight championship, we have these accusations of match fixing. This regularly happens in Cameroon, whatever the championship, especially when we are getting towards the last playing days. There is always arrangements between clubs. But beyond that, we should see it as a lack of ethics in Cameroonian football. There is a great lack of ethics in Cameroonian football, and I think we should not, at the level of the Southwest, we should not look at things as match fixing. The Southwest should concert itself so that one team can go through right up to the mini Interpols, not only the mini Interpols, but contribute and push one team right up to the Elite 2 championship. I think that's what has been happening in other regions. Getting to a certain point in the championship, they say, okay, this team is more valuable. They have the financial resources, they have the human resources. Let them go. Let us push them forth so that we can have more teams in the Elite Championship. So I think the fact that in the Southwest, everybody is king in his own house, everybody wants to go through the main interpols and go and represent the Southwest, it jeopardizes the real chances of the Southwest. Look at the Northwest region. They have no stadium, nothing at all to show off in terms of pitch, but they are able to place 2 teams in the Elite 2 Championship, 2 teams in the Elite 1 Championship, and 1 team in the women top flight, that's the Guinness Super League. Whereas we are still fighting and struggling in the Southwest of match fixing, who is to go, who is not to go. Everybody is trying to be king. We need a concerted effort in the Southwest and let one team pass through, and everybody should support that team so that finally we should make good use of the pitches of the Southwest. I think we have even been lucky that this time around, the format of the Elite 1 and Elite 2 Championship permitted the Southwest to host some of these games. If not, we'll have beautiful pitches, but left to play regional league and sub-divisional championships. So I think it's really high time we go above the match fixing and really concert ourselves. And once you getting towards the mini interpol, we should leave the stronger team move ahead, and we should give all the support to that team so that the Southwest can come back to the top flight.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those who are just tuning in, you're on to Prime Sports on My Media Prime Television, where we bring you up to speed with what has made news across the national territory within the framework of sports. All right, now we take interest in you, take a Jemea there. We are rounding off with football in the Southwest region, so we can take interest in what is making news. Somehow at the level of the Cup of Cameroon, we know that the first rounds of preliminaries have yielded results already, and we're looking forward to the second rounds, which were drawn just today in the Southwest region. That's, of course, today, Thursday, June 23. What would also be your final reactions, and what would be your greatest expectations, given the 8 teams that have already grabbed tickets for the Southwest Regional Mini Interpols? If you were to, bet, if you were to, of course, back a team as far as football for Mini Interpols in the Southwest region is concerned, what team would it be?
Well, I think that after ascertaining all the teams you find in the Southwest region, it is all about the cooperation. This thing starts from the base, from the start of the season. We talked with someone who happens to be like the main communication face in the Northwest Regional Championship in another platform. He made mention of the fact that out there in the Northwest region, the president called the various club presidents and tell them that this year, this is what we are going to do. Whoever qualifies for the national interpols, it is all of us. That is the statement that he made. And they made that statement before last season, after Rangers qualified. They said, we are still coming back next football season with another elite team. Now, it tells you of a people who believe in oneness. We saw this even at the level of the elite, when PWC was about to be relegated, where there was a problem between Ashtree and New Star Odwalla. Now, PWC had to hope on Ashtree, where it came a point where PWC had to be relegated. But now the Northwest clubs, Foncha Street, Isah, threatening to boycott elite matches because their brother was somehow on the verge of being relegated. That is the oneness which we lack in the Southwest region. I will tell you last year that Lifka had everything to go to the national interpols last football season. How do you explain that Desta had to play the football that they played against Lifka, to put Lifka on a tight corner, which ended on a 0-0 all tie, and won Lifka on penalties? But we went to the national interpols. When I saw the players of Gazelle, the least player was 30 years old. Then I look at those lads of Desta's Academy and ask myself, can those lads tackle those guys? Those are the things that when you look at them in the Southwest region, in terms of backbiting and so forth. So when you look at the teams that are the only team out of these 8, I could cite the only team for now is Upupo, Victoria United. That's the only team that stands a chance should the Southwest people sit and understand the stakes of the people, then they should be thinking of how to make sure that this team of people is well supported to go out there and bring us that little ticket. Because if you look at the other teams, I will tell you for sure that those are clubs who are meant for just to go and for sightseeing. The clubs normally they play good football, but at the level of the Interpols, there is something that the clubs lack, and that's the finances. Because after when Victoria United qualified, their president promised the players that they will receive 100,000 pounds each. Which club among those 8 can cough out such money per player? That's the professionalism we are talking about. So in most places, start a professionalism at the level of the regional championship, where your players are comfortable, knowing that they are going for the Elite 2. They will know that this is the type of money which they are going to receive. But now when you start talking of clubs like Al Jazeera, how much do those players receive as prim? How much do those players can legally cough such amount of money, saying that they are qualified for? Even Siko United, even the Kumbasisi, we haven't heard. There was a time when Kumbasisi was under crisis because we heard from one man, Tembi Emmanuel, was saying that there was somehow a crisis from Kumba, saying that the Kumbasisi, that's why they had to drop from their performance. But now when you look at all this, it tells you that there's only one club that you can see visible that can go at the level of the national Interpols and do something. For the rest, you can't say anything for sure.
Coach, Jemea thinks Opopo, that's of course Victoria United, the team in the southwest, or is the team in the southwest region that can cause the necessary change here as far as the national Interpols are concerned, should they qualify. But we have the record breakers, the likes of Catholic University, as well as Isosha, who almost took on to the last day of the season in terms of regional league in the southwest region to record their very first defeats, or maybe drop points in terms of matches played. And when we look at their records, one is tempted to think that these boys have the prowess in terms of footballistic language to go on and cause that, unexpected change as far as the national Interpols are concerned. Or, as a coach, you think otherwise?
I definitely don't think otherwise, Isah, because Jemea just spoke of Opopo. I think he gave reasons why he believes Opopo can definitely do it. But to me, I give a fair chance to every club. A lot of people have been talking about Southwest not consenting to the club president of Southwest don't consent in order to come out with a team that could definitely represent the region. I think that's an unfair claim against the Southwest football. Football is all about fair play and giving everyone a chance. We have been talking about we need to fight against match fixing on ethical values in terms of football. I think if we have to sit to decide on a team that would definitely be representing Southwest, that will be cheating in a different format. We should give everybody a chance and opportunity to showcase their talent, and when they qualify, we definitely know that it's based on quality and not based on favoritism. People should definitely demonstrate their capacity on the pitch, and not by documents or office arrangements. I totally go against that, and we shouldn't be teaching our children that kind of attitude. Let our lads understand that football is supposed to be played on the pitch, and let us. But what I can go for is when we qualify, we can get good grades from other clubs to reinforce that team. That's when the oneness should come. We should stop the attitude of thinking we have to handpick a club prior to the end of the season. That's not how football should be run. We need a level playground for every club. And when they qualify, why should, for example, Lifka be the representative of Southwest? Why? For which we have seen how they have lost games. We have seen how other clubs like Nsah are making name for themselves. Let football be played on the pitch, and we can, at the end of the day, we'll reinforce. And that's the beauty of football. We should not go with this attitude of thinking that we should always try. For how long are we going to do that? And I think if a representative of any region, it is alleged that that's what was done, then that region should definitely be sanctioned, because it's against the rule of football. It's against fair play, and it's against the ethical values of the game. So in my opinion, Southwest, we want a representative, but they can reinforce that representative with quality. So I think that, in my opinion, the CUSA, they have been performing so well. I've followed so many of their games. Whenever I find myself in Southwest, you could see talent. Remember, nobody could have picked Leicester of England to win the championship. But it's based because everybody knew Chelsea, the Man City, and the others. But Leicester came up and won the game with a crop of players which they did have. What is all about football? Prepare your club financially, prepare your club physically, prepare your club psychologically for them to be ready and to face the challenge of the season. The season is not a game, but we have so many games. In my opinion, they should focus on playing good football.
For those who are tuning in, this is your reference point for sports, national, international, and why not world sports. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you all that which you need to know as far as sports in Cameroon is concerned. As at now, we take interest in football, still in the Southwest region. But take your Jemea there. You best follow all of this and more alongside publisher for My Soccer 24, Lawrence Nkede, who also joins us from Cameroon's political capital city of Yaoundé. Take your Jemea, we have the club Tico United, which makes our talking point, who are hoping on the riot and protest that is being staged by prisons of Coach Stephen. And we understand that this club, remember, comes as one of the clubs that have been involved and embroiled in one of the greatest controversies as far as the Southwest Regional Football Championship is concerned. Once more, they are found in sheets that could only be described as complicated sheets in terms of football in the Southwest region. And one is tempted to ask the question, what exactly is the problem of a Prisons Football Club of Boya, as well as how would their protest benefit Tico United, one of also the clubs that have been cautioned in recent times for, on footballistic behaviors of their different fans?
Well, I think that it is all about the issue of eligible player putting player who have double licenses and so forth. The game between Al Jazeera and Prisons of Boya, March the 18th, which was played, and it was discovered that the players of Al Jazeera had double identity. And so Prisons, speaking with one of the key members of the team, they said they wrote a protest at halftime, which, should it go well, is going to affect Al Jazeera's 3 points that they gained against Prisons of Boya on March the 18th. And so with that, by implication, Al Jazeera will be stripped of 3 points from their accumulated points this season. And that would mean that if they are close to, now they are 29 points, so if you strip them off 3 points, there will be 26 points. So Tico United stay on 27 points and they will climb to the Indomitable spots. So that's the same thing that happened to PWG Bamenda when Ashtree and New Star Douala, where New Star protested against Ashtree, where they had a problem of putting a player with double identity, and at the end the verdict had to relegate Ashtree, and whereas Ashtree had won New Star Douala, but they were deducted 3 points, and both of the other two teams had to drop for PWG to stay at the level of the Elite One. So that's the same thing that Tico United is trying to pursue or push Prisons to continue with the protest.
Can one, do we have the impression that they could maybe be the blowers of the whistle, Prisons, for Tico United? They could be blowing the whistle. That is
why I am faulting this thing of homologating matches late. The homologation of this year, and this committee of this year in the Southwest region has been so disappointing, because we are expected that after the first round, you homologate all the matches and present them to the public. But how come you homologate matches in shifts? You homologate first 3 matches, and at one point in time you homologate second 2 matches. That is inconsistency to me. So now it brings suspicion in the sense that match was matched at 18, but the recent homologation of matches, the first 3 of the second round has been homologated, but now the second 2 matches of 2 match days of the second round were homologated just yesterday. But now, how do we explain that when Tico United, one of their communication officers, posted a statement on social media saying that Tico United has a chance to qualify for the mini-interpose based on the fact that Prisons has a qualification protest against Al Jazeera, and that match was not put on the recent homologation of matches, it shows that there is something trickish. So those are the discrepancies which we find ourselves in the Southwest region, where Al Jazeera, to me, they played good football than Tico United this season. They were purpose, they had the talents that could go out there and do something. But now, when Tico wants to play, to rely on a protest, where Prisons has nothing to lose, because they have already survived relegation, they are a meetable team. Whether they win the 3 points or lose the 3 points, they still stay at the level of the South Regional League. Then now Tico United is trying to use the means to get through their way into the mini-interpose.
And now one could now start, these are all the allegations and possibly the polemics that come to confirm the fact that we have issues of match fixing in the Southwest region. And we have this text message from possibly a fan of Tico United watching us somewhere around Cameroon, who says, "Good evening, so I suggest that Tico United should be considered as a good club." We now take interest in you, publisher for My Soccer 24.
We should
maybe we have a reaction there of Lawrence Nkede, publisher for My Soccer. Sir, football basically in the Southwest region, just like in Cameroon, is played more off the pitch than on the pitch. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, I think some of the clubs have understood how things are working in Cameroon. You play football on and off the pitch. But I think a protest has been laid before the kickoff of the match, not at halftime. We have to go into the rules of the game to really verify if effectively it was legal to setting a protest at halftime. You setting a protest before the game, not at halftime. So we should check deep into the rules to see whether the protest stands, given that it's been done at halftime. But I think if you look at the top flight championship, we didn't have protests of match for age fixing and things like that, because what happened is that Africa Foot this time around had published the list of all the players of all the clubs. I mean, each club, the list of all the players were published with their license number, and all the other teams had access to this list of players, in order that if you see a player there whom you think it's not legally registered in that club, you have to signal it so that the situation should be trashed out before the kickoff of the season. That's why you won't find any more protest about players having 2 ages and or 2 names and things like that. So I think the Southwest Africa Foot, in order to be clear at the kickoff of the season, should publish the list of all the players in all the clubs, so that if you have any protest before the kickoff of the league, you can set in your protest. After that, there is no question of setting in protests against a player for age cheating and things like that. So I think the shortcut Tico wants to use to get into the mini-interpole, it's really a wrong one. It's true that Tico United is a big team. It's a popular team in the Southwest, and we really need these popular teams to come back to the limelight in order to rekindle not only the regional championship, but equally the national championship. But in order to win games, you really have to win them on the pitch and get your points earlier, so that at the end of the day, when we are doing the accounting, you will not be taking +3, -3 in order to hope to go into these mini-interpoles. It's really a shameful situation, because we really wanted to have a good champion or a concerted champion, as I earlier said, because I still insist on this issue of concerted champion. You look at Gazelle of Garua today, you go into the list of players of Gazelle, you will find practically 4 or 5 players that belong to Cotton Sports. So the team was prepared that this team is going to rise up to Elite 2, rise up to Elite 1, because they are playing with players from Cotton Sports. So that's why I say you have a concerted effort and all energies are put into a club so that the club gets the limelight. And today, Gazelle is in the playoffs of rising into the Elite 1 championship so that Garwa will have 2 teams. That is the type of concerted effort I'm talking about. And I think it's high time the Southwest gets up from slumber and get concerted at the kickoff of the league so that one team should get at least into the Elite 2 championship.
Nkede there, we're staying with you before eventually coming to Coach Enow Ako here in the studio with us. We take interest now in national football in Cameroon. That's, of course, professional football. And already we are talking about 4 teams already at the playoffs to look for a champion for Cameroon's professional MTN Elite 1 championship in the country. You are a man of the figures, Nkede. You already have the stats, everything. Maybe you bring us up to speed with some of the top goal scorers, the record breakers, and possibly, you know, the most punctuated to be crowned champions of the Elite 1 championship in Cameroon. Maybe we get to talk about that before we bring more questions to Coach Enow Ako, who is present with us in the studios here at Cameroon's economic capital city of Douala. Let's be brought up to speed with some of those figures. You've been very much following all, you know, developments around football in Cameroon, especially at the Elite 1 level. What would be, you know, your assessments and your figures, stats as well, as far as all of this is concerned?
Well, I think exclusively we would give it here the number of goals scored since the day 1 of the championship. So far, since the beginning of the championship, 632 goals have been scored this season, giving us an average of 2.29 goals per game, which for me, it's a good average. We have played 96% of the games of the season. That is 276 games on 288 games in total. We have 4 teams who have qualified for the playoffs. I mean, we have Cotton Sports and Ealing Sports on one hand, and on the other hand, we have Lionesses of Douala and Canon of Yaoundé, who have equally qualified on the other hand. And for the goal scoring, for the goal scorers, I mean, it was interesting today because we had a battle between 2 teams who have all the most prolific goal scorers. That's the game between Column of Jan Lobo and IS Fortuna of Fu. We got Column won the game 5-3, and what's remarkable is that Enow Ako, who was leading goal scorer, scored a hat-trick, whereas the runner-up, who is Junior Mane of Column, equally scored a hat-trick in today's encounter. So Enow Ako stands as the best goal scorer so far of the league with 16 goals, whereas Junior Mane of Column is second in position with 15 games. Apam, who was called up with the national team, equally scored a brace today and has moved from 12 to 14 goals. So that's about the goal scoring, and we are waiting for the playoffs to see whether more goals will be scored, because behind we have Wasu Pasian of Cotton Sports, who is coming up strong with 12 goals. Maybe, I don't know whether he will be able to score 2 hat-tricks in order to catch up with the others. But it's interesting that this season we've made it more than 600 goals. It has been a prolific season, an average of more than 2 goals per game. We really have to recommend our attackers. They did a great job, and football is scoring goals, and we got the goals this season globally. That's my first point. I don't want to monopolize the mic.
All right,
Let us
thank
continue with the
you
exchange.
very much. Profound gratitude to your publisher for my Soccer 24 there. Lawrence Nkede giving us startling facts there exclusively, and that is what, as a viewer, you stand to benefit watching us on this and every Thursday 9:30 to 11 p.m. on your #1 reference point for local, national and international sports in Cameroon, Africa and the world over. Now, Coach, we take interest in you. The publisher there has given us the figures we need, and maybe I bring this reaction from somebody who is watching us also from across Cameroon and liking exactly, particularly your reactions and interjections as far as the program from onset is concerned. And this person says, good evening to you all in the studio. I want to thank the coach in the studio for what he said. All the big names, according to this person, are not giving us the results. So let us give room to those who play good football and win in the field and not in the office. And this person goes ahead to say that Opopo is just fooling us. They have not won any and gave us the impression that the public is actually needing. They've not giving us the impression that the public is that's the simple truth. Well, it's not very much a clear message there, but it tends to address the fact that Opopo came into this season with much expectation from the fans, and they've not lived up to expectations. Well, we shall not really look at regional football again. We've talked about that exhaustively in the program. Now let's look at football at the national level, and we are seeing 4 teams that are already making lots of waves, and we could count barely 3 game days to get the champion as far as football for Elite 1 in Cameroon is concerned. That general appreciation, Coach, you're one person with that critical eye as far as this football generally is concerned. Is there a point where you would think that football in Cameroon this season has not been, that telling sign that it's getting to its possible best in Africa?
I think I want to thank so much the organizers of the league this season, because we least expected football to be played for this season. Mm-hmm. We were in a scenario where CAF had already issued out, last year we had to, I think, Football Club of Baham was handpicked to represent the country. Mm-hmm. And this year we had a lot of brouhaha affecting the football and affecting football. So we were in a scenario where the federation needed to sit to devise a strategy, and that strategy was definitely the best in order for us to speak out those who are going to represent this nation as far as football is concerned at the international level. Mm-hmm. They came out with a pooling system where we have Pool A and Pool B, and the federation decided that they are going to incur a lot of those expenses, mm-hmm. especially expenses on logistics, hotel bills, transportations, and other expenses are being incurred by the federation. I think this year we have had least concern coming from club president and as well as maybe coaches and players about. We have had less injury. We have had we have had less issues as far as financial constraints are concerned. So because the federation decided to incur a lot of cost, and they have been doing it, I think, the best of my knowledge, they are I should say they are above my expectation. So and we are almost at the end of the season, mm-hmm. and Cameroon will definitely be sending out its representative at the CAF level. And this far, we already have the cotton pluckers. They have always been there. We have Astra. We have Canon, mm-hmm. as well as Aiding Sport of the lake here. Some few years ago, Eding was a champion of Cameroon. Cotton has always been champions. Well, I'm sure the leading in terms of championship in Cameroon. We have the legend Canon that is present, and we have the ever sweet Astro present. Will be they'll be playing the knockout phase in the days ahead in Garoua, and the best is definitely going to emerge from that playoffs. So I think that it's a season that, in the best of my knowledge, will go down memory lane as one of the best. I
mean, under the current, the prevailing context.
Under the prevailing context, we have had COVID-19.
We've had a makeshift season,
so
and it seemed hitch-free.
So above all, I think that this is a season where we should definitely learn. This should be it's a learning curve for the federation, but this season, the good things that we have seen, we should definitely carry them subsequent seasons, and those that we think are not adequate enough, we should pluck it off so that Cameroon should remain the image of Africa in terms of football.
Cameroon should remain the image of Africa in terms of football. The reactions and hopes there of Coach Enow Ako with us in the studios of My Media Prime Television, based out here in Cameroon's economic capital city of Douala. Jemea, we have a text message from the southwest region here with us in the studio tablet. And this one reads, greetings to you all. I think the issue with the Southwest Regional League is lack of ambition. This person says they don't see themselves becoming champions in professional football career. And he says, kudos to Tico United for their efforts. And the message is signed in bold letters by Ambassador Gibson Esue, watching us all the way from Boya. Jemea, we will not go back to the Southwest region. Now let's take interest in something else that also concerns football, but this time let's pay attention to the women. We're talking about the national Indomitable Lionesses, who already find themselves probably in Rabat, as they would be looking for their first continental, silverware, as they will be defending the colors of the national territory in the Africa Cup of Nations for the women to start next Friday. Jemea, let's start by having, an assessment of the different chances. Giving their group they've been drawn into, what are their chances to make it out of that group and possibly stamp their personality at the level of the tournament?
Well, I think that when you look at the women's team, it's a team, they still don't look convincing. As far as the CCD is concerned, they are being coached by Gabriel Zabo, who was before, he was handling two positions at the same time, being the coach of Rene of Melon, as well as the coach of the Indomitable Lionesses. So when things were not going on right for Rene of Melon at one point in the season, where they had to go, I think, 13 games without a win, he had to step down from his position to focus on the Lionesses ahead of the African Women's Cup of Nations. So when you look at the issue of the Cameroon team, we ask ourselves, is it the problem of the foreign players, the so-called internationals? Because when you look at in the final list which the coach has published, there are 6 local-based players. But now, when we look at the performance on the pitch in their last 2 games against the likes of Senegal in the 2-leg tie, you understand that the home-based players scored, live up to expectations. As far as the game against Senegal was concerned, we saw that the likes of Minik Ngok scored in the 2-2 draw. We saw Kameni Flora scoring the lone goal, I think the lone goal against Senegal, which we won 1-0. So you see that we keep on asking ourselves, is that competition between the local-based players as well as the so-called professionals actually taking
in terms of female football in Africa, Cameroon playing against Senegal, is that an equal
Yes,
test?
that's why we look at, we are second in Africa in terms of women's football, while Senegal, I think, is about, the 10th or so. So you expect Cameroon to have a comfortable result against Senegal. But it becomes so shocking that we couldn't have the much awaited result. How could we score one early goal and we couldn't score again? and we are to play against Zambia and Tunisia. You know, those girls in the Maghreb, they are trying to play more like their men, how they play the quick, fast football. So as it stands now, the team doesn't look convincing, and they are to play France against, France. But now I ask myself, if you are going in for African competition, if you are going to play a team out of Africa, look at Morocco. Morocco has lined up different friendlies. They've played Congo, defeated Congo 6-0.
But Cameroon is to play France.
No, we are playing contextual football. We're playing the France, African Cup of Nations. So Morocco has played, these are the teams Morocco have played. They have played Ghana, beat Ghana 2-0. They played the likes of Zambia recently, and they held a 1-1 draw against Zambia. And it tells you that Zambia, they are coming in, I think their last edition, they finished, I think, at the quarterfinals or semi-finals or so. And that's a team that has ambition. And we have to play Zambia in our first game. So when you look at the team as at this moment, if we can struggle against Senegal, then how then can we cope against a Zambian side? Those are the things that we look at. We've seen a trend of coaches who have come in the ranks of the national team. After Enow Ako left, we saw Joseph Ndoko coming in at the helm. Ndoko was trying to build something. But what explains the fact that Ndoko was sacked and Bijoka came in, and we saw the devastating performance we had in France, if not of the individual performance of Jujoya Ajara, who had to come in to score that winning goal against New Zealand to make us qualify for as best loser for the round of 16 against England. So when we look at the team, we are not for sure that we are going to produce a performance that we've been doing in the last two African Women's Championship. Remember that we finished finalists in 2019. We played good football. We finished third in 2018. We played some good football. But now we look at the team from from the Olympic qualifiers and up to now, the team has not really been that team that you can actually see as a team that can challenge. I see that Morocco is the next best after Nigeria. We can't say for sure Cameroon, but on paper we will say Cameroon. But what we are executing on the pitch, we can't put Cameroon on that platform. So I think that there is still a lot of work to be done as far as the Lionesses are concerned.
Coach, he has evoked a very sensitive issue. On paper, Cameroon looks very good. But when we consider the polemics around the female national team, we have the impression that it's not a matter of meritocracy, but there could be some degree of, mediocrity when we consider football that has been played by the likes of Mpe Bisson. Yet, after three calls in terms of trainings and why not preparatory and qualifying matches, she's not retained, at the level of the competition proper. That, to an extent, is hurtful. But what will be your reaction? I mean, you as a coach have a different sight, and probably you would have a similar look of the issue as Gabriel Zobo.
Jemea just spoke of the fact that Morocco is probably doing better than Cameroon, but I wouldn't say so. Even when Alain and Jofak was there, people did not write. I think that based on popular opinion, they didn't people didn't endorse him. But I think that we emerged vice champion in Africa in his reign. Likewise, while Enow Ako, remember, we never won the trophy as well. We're probably the vice champion because we're defeated by Nigeria in Yaoundé, in our home soil. So when you look at it, I don't see why I should definitely be undermining the work that Jofak did. He did well as well. Remember, when Enow Ako left, he actually was the person who brought to limelight the performance of the Lionesses. Consequently, there was a lot of fanfare. But unfortunately, when Zabo came in, there was this animosity against Zabo. But in my opinion, when I look at the statistics, it took us to other international competition, which we actually definitely qualified. When Jemea did say we qualified as like the third best. Of course, it's the rule of the game.
But a team of Cameroon's pedigree, should we be, rusticated to the level of third best?
Remember that during the Wafcon, the third best defeated one of the favorite in the competition. That is Tunisia. Tunisia came out third best in the pool that was in Limbe, but went over to the north and defeated Nigeria, that had 9 points on 9 during the first round of the tournament. So that's football. That's the game of football. When we went to the Wafcon in 2017 in Gabon, nobody tipped Cameroon to be the favorite, because we had so many during the preparatory phases. We were not winning games, but at the end of the day, we won the trophy. These girls are still in preparatory phase. It's not the competition proper. So they picked up victories again. They have picked up victories against Senegal, even though it's a slim margin. But it calls for us to do an assessment of where we can improve. It doesn't mean that it's a period of crisis. You just simply we are looking at which are the areas of the game that we are not doing so well, and we're going to cover the gaps. Remember, if a player is not chosen, you just spoke of Bison. Yeah, if she wasn't chosen this time around, I think that it's an opportunity.
This is the third consecutive time she's called up for trainings, for qualifier matches, and at the end of the day, she ends up performing reportedly.
Of course, you've been called
but
up.
Not retained.
You've been called up. I can tell you, before the World Cup 1994, we had someone like Ebod Yannick at the time, who played for Canon and had played for Providence in Yaoundé, was called up alongside people like Patrick Demboma, but he wasn't called up for the national team. At the end of the day, so we have had scenarios of such. Somebody like Njonke Bonaventure was one of the few during the World Cup who didn't play in 1990, but he was in the squad. Listen, being called up doesn't mean you have been selected. We should try to dissociate those things. You are being called up means that they think that you have the skill set. But to be selected, it goes beyond your skill set. You are talking about a team. There are players who individually are so good, but playing as a team could be a problem. And on that perspective, you might not be selected. I want to give you an example. Mario Jardel, at the time, played for FC Porto and was one of the highest goal scorers in Europe as a whole, but never called up for Brazil to represent Brazil during the World Cup. They called other players, and Brazil still went ahead and won the World Cup. Pay has not been called up. It doesn't mean Cameroon will definitely win the trophy. And Cameroon has been the vice champion, though she wasn't called up.
All right. Lawrence Nkede, your publisher for My Soccer there, we are trying to, believe that at the level of the female national team, there is still some degree of transparency and there's still some degree of trust that can be invested on the coach and all stakeholders. But when we consider the fact that names of players get to appear and disappear and apologies skip from left and right, one is tempted to think that there could be some handwritings in the shadows. Your reactions?
I don't really think we have handwritings in the shadow, as the Federation said it was a material mistake, because in the goalkeeping position we have Bao Ange. She's our number one. I mean, she's the one who outclassed Ngondom in the post. Ngondom has been in that goal post maybe for 11 years, and Bao Ange is the one who came in and outclassed her. So Bao Ange is Cameroon's number one. So it was instead shocking that we didn't find Bao Ange. So I think, as I said, it was a material error. Let us put that in quotes. But I think there is much competition in this team. I'm not too d'accord that since Enongachu left the team has been crumbling. We should equally look at the training of players. What is a nursery? Do we have a nursery where we train young players? It's just now that we are already progressing and trying to train players. In the past years, we were basically depending on spontaneous generation, that generation of the Njoya Ajaras that came up and surprised us with the Nganamuits. But these days, nowadays, we have a competitive team. It's not because you are called Pebisong that you'll be automatically selected. It's true that she would have been given an opportunity because she has the experience. We saw what she did in the COSAFA Cup when Cameroon was invited out there in South Africa, and playing in Europe nowadays doesn't even guarantee you a place because she's not the only one. The striker, Alexandre Takunda, who played for the World Cup and former player of Eclair Football Field of Nsah, wasn't equally selected. Mefire Vivian wasn't equally selected. And in that midfield compartment, competition is really tough. You find players playing in Central Europe. You have other playing in Cameroon, but who really have the experience. When we take the example of Ngo, the vice captain of Eclair Football Field of Nsah, she's exceptional. I mean, I've been watching games and commenting and analyzing games of Nkede, the local top flight, women top flight, that's the Guinness Super League. And we have these players who are really coming up strong. Kamini Flora, the best goal scorer of the championship with 14 goals, is present in that list. We were expecting that maybe Lamin Mana, who plays for the under 17, might make it, but unfortunately she's still young, she's still growing. I think we have a good number of players, and I don't too much consider our performance with the against Senegal because all the top players weren't present. It's just today that Ombudu and Dabda joined the team in France. Estelle Johnson equally joined the team in France. Michaela Bam, who equally plays in the US, joined the team in France. So all these key players were lacking, and even Gabriele Abudi, the captain of the team, wasn't present. So even the friendly against France will really showcase the real face of Cameroon. I think you will discover the Indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon, the first 11, the true starters. You will discover them at the kickoff of the African Women Cup of Nations. I think what we could equally retain is that it's the first time in the history of women football in Africa that we are going to have 12 teams going into this competition. It began with 4, we move over to 8, and now we are already at the level of 12 teams participating in this tournament. And once you get to the semi-finals, you qualify for the World Cup, because we should equally inform our viewers that the African Women Cup of Nations will serve as qualifiers for the World Cup that's going to be played in Australia and New Zealand. So for the first time, Africa is going to have, I think, 4 or 5 teams, 4 teams qualifying directly, and the 5th team moving in the playoffs. So I think this African Women Cup of Nations is quite particular, because we are going in there not only to try to win the cup, but equally to qualify for the Women's World Cup, and we really have to take it serious. We have 6 players from the local championship, the Guinness Super League. I think for the past years, we've always had professionals flooding the whole team. But this time, I mean, with Dudu Usman of Amazon Fab, Flora Kamini of Louf Mimprov, who is scoring the best goal scorer, I said it earlier. Ayagma Pauline of FCA Bolova, goalkeeper of FCA Bolova. Kevin Osol, who scored the lone goal in the return friendly against Senegal. Kevin Osol, who plays for local side Awa, who is the league leader presently. Kevin Osol has scored 4 goals in the championship with 4 assists. She's very fast with the ball, and I think she merits her place in this team. Regine Flor, the goalkeeper of Canon of Yaoundé, and Gogok Monique, vice captain of Eclair Football Field of Nsah, compose really these 6 players constituting who hail from the local championship. So I think we are really going to evaluate the Indomitable Lionesses in situation, and we are playing tough sides like Zambia, Tunisia, who is very, very technical and who plays Maghrebian football. It's really going to be a tough team, but I think moving out from the group stages, Cameroon will be able to do it and be amongst the first 2 of its group B.
Hopefully, we pray and we definitely crave as well. A text message from the northwest region of the country reads, "Hello, this is Ahmad watching from Bamenda. For me, the chances of the Lionesses is intact, given all logistics have been put in place. And these girls have been giving all the chances." And it goes ahead to say that given that most of them now play in top leagues across the world, including the Guinness Super League in Cameroon. And he says good evening to all in the studio. Thank you very much for your text message this evening, Arnold Nkwamo, or Kwamo, watching us from the northwest region. Another extensive text message in the studio tablet reads, "Good evening, gentlemen in the studio. I love the way you guys analyze football. You guys are the best." Thank you very much, take care, Jemea there, and thank you very much, Coach Enow Ako, and thank you very much, Nkede there. But I have some worries concerning the way Fecafoot Southwest manage the activities, especially fixtures. Now, he says now we are worried. Yes, of course, he says now we are playing the Cup of Cameroon preliminary rounds, which is supposed to end on the 30th of this month, which is next week Thursday. But they went ahead to publish that mini interpools will only kick off on the 2nd of July, and there are teams playing the Cup of Cameroon that has already qualified for the mini interpools. So if it happens that 2 of these teams are to play on the 30th and their match for mini interpools are programmed on the 2nd of July, how will they manage the strength? And this is Gregson, who is watching us from the heart of Boya, that is Muliku. We maybe shall be looking at that, take a Jemea, maybe at the end of the program. Let's look at Samuel Etofi's. We look at local attacks, we look at national attacks, we look at international attacks. And many persons are asking themselves the question, just like myself, has Samuel Etofi's beaten more than he can chew?
Well, there's nothing that like beating more than what he can chew. Is the people who are actually calling for his head beating more than what they can chew, because they'll be looking for every angle to put down Samuel Eto'o off his reign as a Fecafoot president. And so they found this little thing that is happening. Is a Spanish tradition that they always target stars who play in the Spanish La Liga. Remember that when you play for Real Madrid, Barcelona, those big clubs, you are a star in those clubs. They try to give you that, use their nationality kind of stuff to pin you down in the future in terms of those tax fraud. So this was just one of the victims after Ronaldo, Messi, and many other players. Ronaldinho himself, who has also been a victim of this Spanish fraud, of Spanish tax fraud. So Eto'o, being the president of Fecafoot, unfortunately he had to fall into this mess. But he was trying to make some points clear, where we heard that because of the fact that while playing for the Spanish league, they said his investment had to be withheld, and he refused that, saying that he was going to pay instrumentally. And so maybe he tried to mention the fact that last Tuesday was the deadline, and so the money had to increase. But when you look at it, the Spanish law says it clear that when you are sentenced below 4 years, you are not that sentence is suspended, because you are not obliged to go and serve the prison term in the prison. So that again, how does it have to affect the Fecafoot status? Because the Fecafoot status is saying that it's prior to elections, where if you are sentenced somehow, you are not eligible to run for FECAFOOT elections. But now the guy is already a president, and so how does that law apply? So these are people who are trying to bring Cameroon football to back to square one at a time when we are making some slim, or so let's say slight progress, at a time when we are facing some dilemma in our football landscape or football history, where we need to adjust things and put tools in power to ensure that we get a better future for our football and football stars who are rising up. We just talk about stars like Wasu Patience of Kotong scoring 12 goals and the rest. Those are players who we should be looking at. But now when people go and start saying that a law should be applied from a foreign law should affect a FECAFOOT presidency, it shows of people who are just there to ensure that they put a plug in the wind of progress as far as this country is concerned. And those kind of people should be flushed out with immediate effect so that we move on. Because right now we are moving on. We are not moving back again. We are not in the era of Tombi Aroko where they had to go to CAS again. CAS is already tired. If you see CAS sitting quite up to now, because we were saying they were to give a verdict on Eto's mandate. Well, it's not yet the end of the month. But I think they too are tired, because we need people who actually know have football at heart, and that is what I think we should be looking at. Whereas these people, and those people are the same people of the Nigerian General Assembly, which Eto called some of them, or called them and have some consensus with them, but most of them never came because of that greedy nature. So I think that this thing should stop, and it's high time the government starts stepping in on the shoes of these people to put them or to silence them and allow football to go in this country, because we have suffered enough for the past 10 years in our football landscape.
Coach, according to the articles of FECAFOOT as amended in 2021 of July, we shall be looking at articles 37 and articles 47. That, of course, pertains to the eligibility of the president, and whoever is to occupy that post must, of course, fulfill the following conditions. According to article 37, for reasons of precision, I would have to refer to the FECAFOOT statutes, which I have with me in the studio here. And the first subsection in article 37 states that the member or the number of terms of the president of FECAFOOT and other members of the executive committee shall be limited to 2 4-year terms. That one is settled. It says that the term of office shall begin the day after the General Assembly meets. It's also settled. But now, the third indicates that the term of office shall end at the close. We also understand that that is Article 37. But when we look at Article 47, with its different, indications, we have the first that says that the office of the president shall be considered vacant in event of death, resignation, expulsion, or where the president is in a situation of incompatibility or eligibility during his term of office, where he fails to attend 6 consecutive executive meetings. As at now, Eto is still very eligible. Now, the second aspect indicates, in the event of vacancy of the presidency duly established by the Extraordinary General Assembly convened by the Executive Committee, the first vice shall sit as interim president. As at now, Eto is still eligible. The Executive Committee shall be expected to convene the said Extraordinary General Assembly within 30 days following the declaration of the vacancy. Eto is still eligible. Now, when we look at the facts that these laws indicate that as president of Cameroon Football Federation, you're not supposed to be involved or at any point have a prison sentence, but now should have had, says the statutes of FECAFOOT. Now we are worried. When the law says should have had, should we conjugate the term and believe in the tense that indicates that should have had, which means if as a president you have never been sentenced prior to your presidency, then you remain eligible, or even within your presidency, should you be, whether suspended or not, be sentenced, then you become ineligible. I don't understand these things, but you have a better understanding of the law. Bring us up to speed with a clearer understanding as far as all these polemics are concerned.
Yes, thank you, Rene. I think that it's a worrisome situation, but I want us to look at Article 36.
36.
Yeah,
we would rapidly look at Article 36.
Yeah, Article 36 states this, and that's where I have a lot of problems with those members of the 2009 Bureau, because they are so egoistic. They don't want to look at things as for nation building. Article 36, maybe you have Section C and D. Section C and D tells you that the individual shouldn't have been sentenced.
Should not have been sentenced. When we say should not have been sentenced, that is to say before you should not have been
sentenced.
All right.
That's what it states in Article 36, Section C.
We are going to, maybe if the producers permit us have that on screen, we would of course be having that. So that it should not be a case where they say we said that. This is according to Fecafoot Statutes as amended in July 2021, last year.
Yes. Article 36, Section C should not have been sentenced. It is in the past. It therefore means your eligibility is before getting into office. Should not have been sentenced. Now, let me take you to Article 16.
All right.
Yeah, Article 16 tells you that for expulsion, it therefore means for a member to be expelled, you need two-thirds of members of the General Assembly.
Three-quarters.
Three-quarter of members of the General Assembly.
We shall be having that probably displayed also there.
Yes.
So we can also involve our viewers, I beg your pardon, in the program, so they will also
our
understand.
viewers to understand. You need two-thirds of the General Assembly to expel a member. But unfortunately, the General Assembly has not even sat. Consequently, a two still remains
the president.
Number 3, if we say we come back to Article 36, when you look at Article 36, Section D, it states must not have been sentenced to a definite term of imprisonment or subject to a suspended sentence. It did not state whether it should be at national territory or international territory. That's the ambiguity of that particular law. They did not state what is the geographical area for which if you have been imprisoned, that could make you ineligible for the position. Reasons why these members of 2009, we have said they remain problematic in the development of football in this
Cameroon.
nation. They look at those articles in a very myopic approach. They don't want to look at nation building. They get into those articles and handpick without having a proper interpretation. And this is why football in Cameroon has been stagnating for so many years. We have not made progress. We have been changing from Tombia Roko to Mbombojoya. And remember, even during the helm of Mbombojoya, there is a senator who purported said he is the president of the federation.
All right. We have Article 47 there of the Statutes of Fecafoot as amended in 2021, and you can clearly read the article subsection 3 of Article 47 that states the executive committee shall be expected to convene the said extraordinary assembly. All right, now we fast backward.
Can you take us to Article 36?
Article 36 hopefully would be giving to us there, because I'm actually looking at Article 36 right here in the studio, and Article 36 indicates that it would need, especially let's go to Article 36 that says that maybe Section D of Article 36 indicates that must not have been sentenced to a definite term of imprisonment subject to a suspended sentence or probation of more than 6 months.
And it is, they use the past tense. The past tense is being employed at this level. It
must not have been. That whole language there causes a lot of...
We need proper interpretation. Reasons why these gentlemen of 2009 Bureau, they have always had it wrong, because they try to interpret it to suit their ego, because they have been so hungry to get into the at the helm of the federation. Eto, putting aside all these issues.
We're still at Article 47 there. All right.
36.
36, please. We have, no, that's 37. 36 hopefully would be coming. We have 36, which is maybe before, not this one, this is 47. Hopefully we shall be getting
taken us to 36 as well as 16. You have Article 16. That gives you the fact that
we shall be coming to that. Hopefully we will be getting that in the program now. Maybe we are here in the studio. We would be getting maybe additional 10 minutes for that because we're already out of time. But Nkede, you are one man who also understands these statutes of FECAFOOT. And it's problematic. Jemea will tell you that the law is white, but it has dots of gray. Should have been. What should we understand as far as these laws are concerned?
I think concerning these, but there is no case at all. Should have been. We are talking of elections. The elections are past, gone, and we are already into the mandate. We cannot go back and say, let us go back to the elections. It's gone. I mean, it's all about politics. It's all about they share what you have on the table to eat. It's all about eating. The 2009 Executive Bureau met with Eto. I think the majority of members decided to drop down their weapons and put football before everything, national unity before everything, development of football before everything. That's why they dropped their case. But you had some recalcitrant members who were not satisfied of the agreement because, first of all, they wanted the position of Secretary General of FECAFOOT and Secretary General of all the regional leagues. They wanted to have all those positions in control. Unfortunately, Eto didn't adhere or give in into their proposal. So, not being satisfied with what was put on the table for them, they have decided to go for the battle right up to the end. I mean, even if it means killing football in Cameroon, they are going to kill football in Cameroon, and they have been in that moving at the Court of Arbitration of Sports, one case after the other. And I think that's one of the reasons why Momojoya didn't succeed, because he spent 4 years going to the Court of Arbitration of Sports, fighting for his position and not having any time to work. And I think that's a distraction on which they are trying to drag Eto into. And I think Eto should remain focused as president of the Cameroon Football Federation. He has organized a marathon league in order for us to match up with the international calendar. We are qualified for the World Cup, what we didn't do since 2008. We hosted the Wafcon. We were third place in the African Cup of Nations. And we are even going in continental at club level with Cotton Sports, although the performance wasn't good, but the federation through Eto assisted Cotton Sport with 50 million francs. I mean, what do you want? What do people want? They should think football. They should think Cameroon first before their stomach. But unfortunately, we have these recalcitrants who are never satisfied with the bids they have been given. They want it all or nothing for anybody. So it's really rather an unfortunate situation, and you really have to look at the names, the signatories, and take those names and mark them in the history of Cameroon as those who are bringing trouble and perpetrating trouble in Cameroonian football.
All right, thank you very much, Nkede. I think I would go with his first interjection there, saying that there is no case whatsoever. and that we have some persons who have decided to ground Cameroon football, Cameroon professional football and football in the country at all levels. Hopefully we shall be having Articles 16 and 36 of the Statutes of CAFOOT as amended in 2021. All right, there we have Article 16 that talks about expulsion, and the sections 1 states that the General Assembly may expel any member that A, fails to fulfill its financial commitments towards CAFOOT, B, is guilty of seriously violating the statutes, the codes, regulations, directives, or decisions of FIFA, CAF, and CAFOOT. And Section 2 states that any expulsion shall require the attendance of the majority, that is more than 50% of the delegates representing members of the General Assembly exercising their voting right, and require 3/4 of the validly cast votes. So if Eto'o were to be expelled, these conditions must be fulfilled. All right, rapidly we look at Article 36, and there we have Article 36, which for some might not really be very clear, but we shall be looking at that. Maybe we have a clearer reading there. And C and D states that must not have been sentenced to a definite term of imprisonment exceeding 3 months without suspension. D states that must not have been sentenced to a definite term of imprisonment subject to a suspended sentence or probation of more than 6 months. E states that must not have been suspended by judicial body of a minimum of 2 years, or discipline-related issues or infringement of sports ethics within 5 years preceding elective General Assembly. Now, preceding, that's the word. We may read all these laws, but we have preceding in that. Take a Jemea, we must conclude.
Well, I think that it's baseless. When you look at all the laws, it's baseless, because even the laws, everything is saying in past tense, So you understand that these people normally,
maybe
like
the lawyers would help us with
they
this.
were looking at it from their own egoistic tendencies, where they could eat fat again and come back to the normalization committee, where we will take the normalization committee to the World Cup and eat the fat money like Professor Joseph who ate during the 2014 World Cup. Those are the benefits they are coming, because the World Cup is around the corner, and they know the monies that come from the World Cup, and so those are the little benefits that they are trying to look at. But however, we should understand that this issue they were talking about, a sentence not be suspended, but the Spanish law has suspended the sentence, that it was not going to actually. So it's all about it's baseless. They are just there to, they are like distractors, where they come in and try to change the mindset of those who are in power to start following cases and forgetting that football is to be managed. And they've seen that Eto'o has disbursed money, and they are not feeding like the way they were feeding, most of them. They knew that under the reign of the league itself, they were feeding fat under Semenge, but now they are not feeding. So they are looking for ways now to bridge that gap and start getting what they can get from their to feed their bellies. But however, the man is there and he's moving them one by one. We've seen the Secretary General coming out, being ousted. We've seen the marketing director ousted, and all the others. So
we've seen the suspension of the president of the West Regional League.
That is a consequence that the people are trying to come out from, and are being sponsored and sponsoring this Nigerian Assembly to come in front like the figurehead, while those who were eating fat from the previous years are like the ones doing the dirty job, sending the 2009, because the 2009 has the legal backing, because they are the ones who have been giving the cases from the past, the one that ousted Tombi Aroko, the one that ousted Bugundria. But now those people who have not been eating, because they've seen that this year is a hunger year. So they want to eat.
We shall. We are out of time. We begin with you, Nkede. Hopefully, in next edition of the program, we shall be coming back to this particular talking point. Maybe it becomes our first talking point, so we have enough time to exhaust all material we have for it. Nkede, thank you very much. You're publisher for My Soccer 24, based out there in Cameroon's capital city of Yaoundé. Thank you so much for being part of the show this evening. We are grateful.
It has been a pleasure for me to be on your show. I'm honored.
All right, Coach. The viewers have enjoyed your interjections here. They love you so much. We pray that you stay with us subsequently.
If those in 2009 think that they are pepper, then they should definitely know that. Maggots also swim in pepper.
Maggots still swim in pepper. Take it, Jemea, the man referred to as the man with a gentle personality on television. We thank you so much for coming, and we hope to be with you next week.
Well, it was a pleasure being here again with two great gentlemen, Enow Ako and Nkede. Well, we just hope that the 2009 General Assembly sit and lie low and understand that after 10 years of dragging, we should give football a chance. If you can still play football with 3 goal scorers having more than 12 goals, whereas the last 2 seasons, Kemadu finished with 18, Boyomo finished with 10 and 6 penalties. And we have this season, we have 3 players on 13 goals plus. Then they should allow us to play this football and allow us some peace, please.
Well, peace everywhere is what is just needed, and basically we need peace as far as today's edition of the program is concerned. It was a program that was produced by Eli Nolinga. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a presentation of Bishop Rene Isah. Thank you very much for staying with us. See you next week. Zekabwelewai.
My Media Prime TV, the African Eye.